עניין אחר, אורח לא רצוי בישראל, לא רצוי לטעמם של גורמים ממשלתיים. ג'רי אדאמס, מנהיג מפלגת שין פיין הקתולית בצפון אירלנד, מראשי המחתרת האירית בעבר, מבקר בישראל וברשות הפלסטינית. אדאמס, דמות מפתח בהשגת הסדר שלום בצפון אירלנד, הוא מבקר חריף ביותר של ישראל, במיוחד על רקע המצב בעזה. רצונו להיפגש עם מנהיגי חמאס ברצועה הוא הסיבה שנמנע ממנו לבקר בה. אבל אדאמס נועד עם חבר הכנסת יצחק הרצוג, יושב ראש מפלגת העבודה. הנה ראיון מיוחד עם ג'רי אדאמס, שערך עמו אלון ולן, כתב חדשות החוץ.
Mr. Adams, thank you so much for joining us today and granting us this interview. The conflict here in the Middle East is very, very different than the one you have in Northern Ireland. Do you think this conflict can also be resolved through dialogue, through peace?
Yes, peace can be built in the Middle East. Yes, there can be peace between the people of Palestine and the people of Israel. It has to be based on equality, and the way to get to it is through dialogue. Everything is possible, and some people say it's impossible. Well, everything's impossible until it's done. So what we have here is a peace process which needs leadership.
Mr. Adams, what is the purpose of your visit here to the Middle East?
My first responsibility is to listen. I'm no expert on the Middle East. I'm no expert on the issues that are underpinning the conflict here. But I do know how to make peace. And I don't suppose for a second that our peace process can be superimposed upon the situation here. But the same general principles apply. Dialogue, treating people on the basis of equals, taking initiatives, upholding international law.
Do you think one-sided actions by one of the sides here, namely the Palestinians, if they go and declare their own state not through dialogue, do you think it can lead to peace in the future or to more bloodshed?
I'm from Sinn Féin. We're very clear. We believe that people have the right to self-determination. We support the right of the people of Palestine to a state. I've always dealt with people in Israel. I think it takes the two sides to work together. But I think all violent action should stop. And there needs to be initiative to show. See, but it's easy for us to blame the other side. It's easy for people in Israel to say, look, there are these attacks taking place, and it's easy for other people to blame the IDF or to blame the government here. It's much more difficult and challenging to make peace. And the first thing that the international community needs to do is to make sure that all the players are upholding international law. And that's patently not the case. The separation wall is a breach of international law. The blockade of Gaza is a breach of international law. There are other breaches. So, we have to lead by example. A two-state solution appears to be the one that's favoured by the majority of people.
Do you believe the relative peace in Northern Ireland is going to last for many years? Or do you see more bloodshed in the future? The Good Friday Agreement is working so far since '98. Do you think it's going to last for many years to come?
The peace process in Ireland is secure. It will be challenged, and there may be something desperate happens, to set it back. But the only way is forward. And one of the reasons why the peace process has worked is that, as here, the majority of people want it to work. And Republicans Sinn Féin has been resolute in making it work.
Recently, Scotland asked for independence from the UK. They asked to do a referendum, and in the referendum they decided democratically to stay within the UK. Do you see something like that happening in Northern Ireland? Do you see the Northern Ireland people, both the Protestant and the Catholic, asking for independence, or is that science fiction?
No. The Good Friday Agreement contains a requirement of going to a referendum, and Sinn Féin very strongly supports that. You see, what Republicans would argue is that before the Good Friday Agreement, there was no democratic, peaceful way to pursue politics. Politics didn't work. They were banned, they were outlawed, people were... So, now there is a democratic and peaceful way, and that includes the right of the people to decide whether they want a united Ireland or whether they want a union with Britain. And Sinn Féin are very strongly arguing for that, and I would like to see that.
Mr. Adams, what is your message to the leaders and to the people in the Middle East?
People in Ireland are moved to tears by what's happening here, you know, and we're friends. We want this to work. We're not in here to lecture or to hector or to make judgments. You know, we've been through conflict. We know what it's like to bury family members, to bury friends, to bury neighbours, to bury comrades. We know what it's like to be in conflict. And our peace process is very imperfect, and it's all the time being challenged. But it's an imperfect peace is much better than war. There's no such thing as a good war. Here or back home, you could always find a reason or rationale or a logic for saying, look, the peace process doesn't work. The enemy isn't serious. Our opponents don't want it to work. They're threatening us, they're making statements, they're killing us, and so on. But that's always the easy option. The hard but more fruitful option is to stick with it. And we also have to understand it is a peace process. It's a journey. It isn't done in one day.
כך ג'רי אדאמס. הכתבה הבאה